I sat hunched in my office, the cold coffee in my mug a forgotten relic, its bitter aroma mingling with the faint scent of old paper and printer ink. The dim glow from my computer screen painted my face in sharp contrasts, deep lines carved by sleepless nights, graying temples I'd ignored. But my eyes, those still flickered with a fire, a quiet fury simmering beneath the surface. My name is James Carter, and for 2 decades, I'd been the silent architect of Carter & Sons Accounting in Chicago, a firm I'd helped grow from a cramped downtown office to a towering glass monolith on Michigan Avenue. The place was my kingdom in a way. Rows of steel filing cabinets stood like sentinels along the walls, each drawer stuffed with ledgers I'd balanced, contracts I'd negotiated. The soft hum of the air conditioner, the rhythmic clatter of keyboards from the bullpen beyond my door. It was a symphony I'd conducted. My desk, scarred with coffee rings and pen scratches, held a photo of my late wife, Margaret, her smile a ghost I still chased. Harold Thompson, my boss, had founded this empire, a wiry man in his late 60s with a silver watch that gleamed like a dictator's scepter. He'd always given me a curt nod, a grudging respect for my numbers. Or so I believed. But shadows crept in. Late-night emails from Thompson, cryptic and jagged, like hastily scrawled threats. Meetings where his gray eyes lingered too long, his fingers tapping that watch with a rhythm that set my teeth on edge. "You're invaluable, James," he'd say. But his voice carried a chill, a promise of something unspoken. Was he sizing me up? Plotting? I dismissed it. Too buried in a $5 million audit for a renewable energy client to chase ghosts. My days blurred into nights, the city's neon lights seeping through the blinds as I pored over spreadsheets. Then the whispers started. Colleagues averted their eyes in the break room, their laughter dying when I approached. The new intern, a nervous kid with shaky hands, dropped a file on my desk one day. Unusual expenses. $10,000 paid to a consulting firm with no address, buried in the quarterly report. I stared at it, the paper crinkling under my grip. My pulse quickened. Was this a mistake or a breadcrumb? I dug deeper, my fingers dancing across the keyboard, uncovering more. $50,000 to another phantom entity. $200,000 in miscellaneous with no trail. My gut twisted. Was Thompson behind this? The thought gnawed at me as I sat alone, the office clock ticking like a countdown to an unknown end. One stormy evening, rain lashing the windows, I stayed late. The building was a mausoleum, empty save for the echo of my footsteps. I printed the evidence, the printers were a lifeline, and tucked the warm pages into my briefcase. A glint caught my eye. Thompson's office light was on, a sliver of gold under the door. I crept closer, heart pounding, and heard his voice, low and urgent. "He's getting too close. We move next week." Move what? I retreated, my breath shallow, the briefcase a secret weapon in my hands. Thompson thought he ruled me. He was about to learn I'd been watching too. The conference room felt like a cage, its fluorescent lights buzzing like flies over a carcass. I sat across from Thompson, his silver watch glinting as he leaned back, a king surveying his court. His face was a fortress, lined with age, hardened by years of command. But his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. He cleared his throat, the sound slicing through the silence. "James," he began, his voice a velvet blade. "I've decided it's time for your early retirement. The firm needs new energy, and you've given us 2 decades. It's the right move." The words crashed into me, a tidal wave of betrayal. My coffee cup shook in my hand, the cold liquid sloshing over the rim, staining the polished table. Retirement? At 45, with my health still strong, my mind sharp? I stared at him, searching those gray eyes for a shred of humanity, but found only cold calculation. A fire ignited in my chest, anger, defiance, a refusal to break. He thought I'd slink away? "You've been a cornerstone," he added, his tone patronizing, "and we'll offer a generous severance. Sign the papers by Friday." His watch ticked audibly, a metronome of my doom. I forced a smile, tight and bitter, my jaw clenching so hard I tasted blood. I'll consider it, I said, my voice a steel thread. He nodded, smug, and waved me off. But inside, I was a storm. He didn't know I'd seen those phantom payments, the ledger ghosts I'd unearthed. He didn't know I'd been arming myself for months. Back in my office, I locked the door, the click of a gunshot in the stillness. I yanked the briefcase open, spilling the printouts across my desk. $50,000 to Silver Oak Consulting. No office, no contact. $200,000 in operational costs with no receipts, funneled through a Cayman account. My hands trembled as I traced the threads. Thompson was bleeding the firm dry, and my retirement was his cover. The photo of Margaret seemed to watch me, her gentle gaze urging me on. Time was a noose tightening. The board meeting loomed in 2 weeks, and I knew he'd force my exit then, erasing my access to the books. I had to strike first. I called Lisa Martinez, a forensic accountant I'd met at a conference years ago, her sharp mind a beacon in my darkness. "I need you, Lisa," I whispered, the phone slick with sweat. She hesitated. Thompson was her client too, but agreed, her voice steady. "Meet me tomorrow. Bring everything." That night, I worked until dawn. The city's horns a distant wail. The clock's red digits mocked me. 3:47 a.m. Thompson thought he'd crushed me. He was about to face a man reborn. I was a man racing a phantom, every second a step closer to oblivion. Thompson was accelerating. Emails to the board lauding my graceful exit, whispers of a hotshot replacement from New York. But I had allies now. Lisa and I met in a shadowy diner off Lakeshore Drive, the air thick with the smell of grease and burnt toast. Her team joined us. 3 auditors with steely gazes, hired off the books with my savings. "We're in," Lisa said, sliding a black encrypted drive across the table, its surface cool against my fingers. It held software to unravel Thompson's web, a digital scalpel for his financial sins. Back at my office, I plugged it in, the screen erupting with red alerts. $1.2 million vanished, siphoned through fake vendors, laundered via offshore shells. My breath caught. This wasn't just greed. It was an empire built on deceit. I worked in solitude, the office a bunker after hours. The hum of the copier, the faint drip of a leaking faucet. Each sound fueled my resolve. I cross-referenced invoices with trembling hands, tracked IP addresses to dead-end P.O. boxes, built a case stone by stone. Thompson's arrogance was his flaw. He'd left sloppy trails, assuming I'd be too shattered to fight. I found a memo in his handwriting, tucked in an old file. Orders to neutralize James before the next audit cycle. Time was a guillotine. The board meeting was 10 days away, and I needed ironclad proof. I tailed Thompson one rainy night, his polished shoes splashing through puddles as he met a burly man in a trench coat near a warehouse. I snapped photos from my car, the camera's shutter a heartbeat in the dark. Lisa confirmed it next day. The man was Vincent "Vinny" Russo, a known money launderer with ties to organized crime. My skin prickled. Was Thompson in deeper than I'd guessed? I sent an anonymous tip to the IRS, my fingers hovering over the send button, the weight of my choice suffocating. The trap was sprung. I dug further, finding a hidden server in the basement, its hum a secret pulse. Inside were encrypted files, proof of kickbacks from clients, a $500,000 bribe to a senator. My heart raced. This could topple more than Thompson. But I pressed on, the clock ticking louder. Thompson's pressure mounted. He called me in, his office reeking of cigar smoke. "Sign the papers, James," he growled, his watch a taunt. I nodded, feigning defeat, but my mind was a war room. He thought he'd won. He was about to lose everything. The boardroom was a crucible, the air heavy with cologne and tension. I sat in the back, my briefcase a silent sentinel, its contents a ticking bomb. Thompson dominated the front, his suit a shield, his voice a booming lie as he presented flawless financials. The screen flashed charts, polished fabrications, each line a deception. I'd set the stage. The IRS had called that morning, their tone curt, demanding records. Thompson's smile twitched, but he plowed on, oblivious to the noose tightening. Then came my move. I stood, the chairs scrape a thunderclap, and opened my case. "Pardon me, Mr. Thompson," I said, my voice ablade. But those numbers are a lie. I distributed my report. Lisa's team had woven it into a tapestry of truth overnight. $1.2 million embezzled, fake vendors with forged signatures, laundered funds traced to Russo. The room sucked in a collective breath. Thompson's face paled, his watch now a shackle. But the real shock hit when I projected the photos. The alley meeting, Russo's scarred face, a briefcase exchange caught mid-frame. "You framed me!" he bellowed, lunging, his tie askew. Security pinned him as the board erupted, demanding a full investigation. Then the twist. Lisa stepped forward, revealing a recorded call where Thompson bragged about burying James to Russo. The room froze. His empire was ash, and I'd struck the match. Chicago's skyline sparkled beyond my new office window, a modest corner suite I'd reclaimed. Thompson was gone, indicted for fraud and racketeering, his watch auctioned to pay fines. The firm was reborn under new leadership, and I'd been named CFO, a title earned through blood and grit. I sold my old desk, its scars a memoir of battles fought. My new space held a potted fern, a nod to Margaret's love of green, and a framed sketch of Lake Michigan she'd drawn. Lisa joined my team, her quiet strength a lifeline. The IRS sent a commendation letter, a small victory in a larger war. A former client, grateful for my whistleblowing, offered a partnership, my next chapter. But the truest win was internal. I'd faced a predator, outmaneuvered a conspiracy, and reclaimed my soul. Each morning, I brewed fresh coffee, the aroma a ritual of renewal. The clock no longer taunted me. It marked a life I'd fought to keep. I'd waited, planned, and triumphed. Freedom was mine, was.